Yes, very good evening to everyone. This is the Woman Agenda. This is Raj, your host, and obviously we've got Erika Wolf on with us today, and who does loads of stuff. She's does various things, and we will discuss a lot about them. How are you today, Erika?
I'm doing great, Raj. How about yourself?
Fantastic, not too bad, thank you. So it is a difficult one where to exactly talk about because obviously, like I said, you do lots of stuff as I've seen on your profile on Matchmaker. You do mention you do various stuff on here. Whether it's being an author, so let's talk a bit about you being an author. So how did you become an author, and what have you released, and what kind of stuff have you released regarding your writing?
Well, actually, Raj, I'm a first time author. My first book is due out in June of this year. And that book is about my experience with breast cancer. So, about 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with an advanced form of breast cancer and had to go through all of the oncology treatments, chemotherapy first, then a bilateral mastectomy, and then finally radiation and reconstruction. And what I realized in that process was that, these treatments, while they were saving my life, were very difficult on the body. They're very harsh at times. There's a lot of symptoms that are foreign. Pain is one thing, but nerve issues and nausea and those sorts of things are a little harder to deal with. Not to mention the cognitive functions that are impaired and that sort of thing. So what I did throughout my treatment was look for other modalities that I could employ that would help me be able to endure what I needed to do to make it through the oncology treatments. And so that's what my book's really about. I started a blog when I was beginning treatment shortly after my diagnosis. I started a blog because I wanted to help inform my friends and family who lived in various areas around the world. And it was becoming exhausting, really, to be able to keep up via text and telephone and keep everyone informed. So I started this blog. And so, in some ways, the book started before I even knew it was going to be a book. And so I transformed that blog into what is now Cancer and Other Things I'm Grateful For, which is the title of my book. And I wanted to be able to share this with people because it's important. We talk about cancer, but I didn't really know all the ins and outs, even though I had my mother-in-law passed away of cancer in 2002, and my mom had breast cancer. But I just feel like it wasn't something that was really discussed. And we just kind of go along with what we hear about, what we see in movies, what people are willing to talk about. And I just wanted to be willing to talk about it all. I wanted people to know that you can, while you sometimes are in pain, it's not an absolute must that you suffer. And so there are things out there that you can do to help you get through because it's doable as long as you take one step at a time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that definitely must have been a very difficult phase of your life when you went through that, and to talk about that. So how hard was it to obviously to discuss something which affected you a lot? Must have been quite difficult for yourself to bring that out in the open.
Parts of it are, because parts of it are, very private. Nobody wants to talk about menopause. And menopause is something that happens to a lot of women in my shoes who go through chemotherapy because the medications induce menopause.
Right.
And, that's kind of a taboo subject in some sectors. And I don't want it to be. So I have an entire chapter devoted to that, talking about what my experience has been, what symptoms I've had, what kinds of things I do to alleviate those symptoms, and to just let people know that, I was 43 when this all began. And just having, normal menstruation, all of those things were going along. I wasn't premenopausal, wasn't perimenopausal, none of those things. And all of a sudden, boom, with my very first dose of chemotherapy, I went into menopause. And it was complete. I was postmenopausal within 18 months. And that's a huge jolt to the body. And that's something that people don't know and people don't talk about. And so I just wanted people to understand that, that's normal. And like, let's not make it something that's so scary to bring up. It's a normal part of life. And I mentioned this in the book. It's perfectly natural and completely expected. But when it happens, so suddenly, most women have about a decade to adjust to these things. And like I said, I went from, having just completely no symptoms whatsoever to my very first dose of chemotherapy. It all began. So yeah, it was hard, I think. It took me a while. In fact, I never wrote about that subject in my blog. It wasn't until I decided that I was going to write the book that I added a chapter specifically on that, because I guess I just got the guts. It took me
Yeah.
a while, I think, even to decide to write the book. I started it and put it away for about 3 years and then brought it back out, because it's not easy and you open yourself up. But I feel like that's really the only way that information gets shared and news is spread is through opening up.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's good to share and tell people about what exactly happened and stuff. So you said that's coming out in June.
Yes. The best date I have right now is June 27th, maybe a
Okay.
little sooner than that, but it should be June 27th of this year at the very latest.
All right. Okay. And that's fine. So at the moment, so is it like a self-publishing, or are you publishing with a publishing company, or how's
Yeah,
it working out?
I'm publishing with Book Logics. They're an
Right.
independent publisher out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, that's good. That's great. So they like helping in promotion in the promotion wise marketing.
Actually, so they do some things to promote their authors. However, I have hired a separate public relations team to help me with the promotion, and they're also based, just coincidentally, out of Atlanta, Georgia. But they're called the
Wow.
EXV Agency, and so I've been talking with them, working with them, and they're helping me to, really spread the word. So my background is actually in PR and marketing. I have a degree in public relations. I've worked in marketing my entire career. So I get it. I
Yeah.
know the importance and I understand, why to do it, how to do it, but I've never been a book author before. And,
Right.
it's different when you start trying to market and do public relations into an area where you have zero experience. And so I've been very grateful to have found this team who does specialize in book authors and women specifically, to promote and, help, not just be like, hey, buy my book, but, what is the deeper message? So that's why they're helping me talk. I'm doing a conference in Orlando at the end of May where I'll be talking to, it's called the Holistic Lifestyle Conference and Expo. And I'll be talking with a group of, hopefully there's about 8,000 people that attend. I don't know how many will come to my talk, but I'll be talking to a group there about these things because, while it's important, I think, to speak to individuals about how their own case is handled, whether it's cancer, breast cancer, or some other kind of illness, or even just a challenge in life, to know that, self advocacy has been a big part of my journey. And just knowing that being able to speak up for yourself, make decisions for yourself, no matter who is giving you advice and how strong and credible that advice may be, you have to make decisions that are right for you. And
Yeah.
so that's really what I want to do in promoting, not just my book, but my message overall. And so that's really been a big focus in working with this team in Atlanta, is getting out that that kind of message, especially to women, because I think it can be, especially women of a certain age, when we start talking about people who just implicitly trust their doctors, whether they
Yeah.
feel right about it or not. And for me, gut feel was so that I couldn't ignore it. And that's really what I want to spread as far as a message goes, is don't ignore those things. When you have that intuition, really listen to it, tune into it. Don't block it away. Actually, like, invite it in and listen to what it's trying to tell you and make your decisions from there. So that's a really a huge part of what my promotion is about.
Yeah, it's a really good promotion. Obviously, I'm sure it will help with the women who have been going through difficult circumstances, or who are going through something similar, like you said. And obviously, they will definitely draw some inspiration uh, for that, definitely. And this book will be available, obviously, on the online stores, Amazon, these kind of places.
Yes, it will. Yep. It'll be on Amazon.com and BNN.com as soon as
Yeah.
it is released. After that, you'll be able to come to my website at erika-wolf.com, and you'll be able to see where else it's available for purchase, and also events and live appearances that I'll be doing.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, and yeah, is there, because obviously, I don't know this. So, do you have like an official website, or where they can purchase they be able to go onto your website or something like that, or
So the website's under development. We do know
okay,
that the web address is Erika, Erika Wolf, WOLF.com. But it's still being developed. It's not live yet. Once it is, that's where everything will be listed. Like I said, we're a little ahead of the game here, which is great. But yeah, the book is due out in June, and so the website should be live probably by the end of May, and there'll be all of the links, and also physical places where you'll be able to either buy my book or get my book signed or hear me speak somewhere.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. I mean, that is something which will be very, very interesting, and like I said, will obviously draw a lot of inspiration for lots of people to read this book. And is there any plans to write anything further after this, or is it a bit too early to say at the moment?
Raj, that's something that I've thought a lot about. And you're not the first person to ask me. Um, I love writing. It's something that I started doing as a kid. I always had pen pals that I wrote to. I had a pen pal in Singapore. I had one in the UK.
Wow.
So writing has always been, I think, kind of in my blood. And I've done it as a living. Like I mentioned, I'm in PR and marketing. And so a large part of what I do there is writing for all forms of media. So I've had sort of a list in my head, I think, of things that,
Right.
topics that might make sense for me. And, it could be that there's an aspect of this particular book that I decide to expound on, because it's interesting when people hear about the title of my book. It's called Cancer and Other Things I'm Grateful For. They say, how can you be grateful for cancer? Is that what you're saying? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. And they want to know, well, how can you be grateful for that? And the thing is, for me, I can't be grateful for where I am in my life without being grateful for absolutely everything that got me here, whether it was something I wanted or not. And so for me, it's that gratitude that has really allowed me to um, wholly accept the experience that I had, and then be glad for the things that it taught me. Because I think sometimes it's really easy for us to be grateful for the things we ask for. It's easy to be grateful for good things maybe that come up unexpectedly, but when something that appears bad happens unexpectedly, to think about being grateful for that seems a little, wacky. But honestly, in the end, like I said, I'm grateful that, first of all, I'm still here. When I first started my treatment, my doctors were saying, well, we think this, we think that, we're not sure how the chemo will work. And, we hope that when you have your 50th birthday, et cetera. Well, I'm getting
Yeah.
ready to turn 52 in a couple weeks. And, so maybe something along those lines could be something I expound on in a deeper way in another book, or, something like that. But definitely something I've given thought to, and we'll be exploring in the coming months and years.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Christy, just to quickly mention, obviously, the comment on while we're chatting, Christina Weber obviously said, "So proud of you, my friend. It's incredible to encourage open conversations with women of our age." That's from Christina Weber.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank, thank
Thank you.
you, Christina, for posting that for Erika, and that's a very nice comment.
It is. She's
And
great.
yeah, absolutely, definitely. And that is very nice. And yeah, yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. So what did you say? Sorry. So what's your main profession? What you do? I can see obviously you're a motivational. Is it motivational speaker you've done or?
So my career to this point has been marketing. So I've worked in a variety of capacities, because that's sort of the great thing about marketing, is that you can get into a variety of areas, and I've really enjoyed that. So right now I'm working for a not-for-profit organization based in Denver, Colorado. I'm their director of digital marketing, and they're called the Fetal Health Foundation, and they strive to provide accurate and uplifting information to people who are going through a fetal diagnosis. So that's, there are hundreds. I can't even begin to name all of them, but a lot of them tend to happen in multiple pregnancies, but not all of them. Many of them happen to single pregnancies as well. But what our goal is to help families when they're dealing with something that could cause either the pregnancy to end or the child to be born with a severe birth defect, to provide them with information, to provide them with resources so that they know where treatments can be found if they're available, what those treatments are, what that might mean. So that's my job, is to help get out the word. I do a lot of social media. I work on a magazine. I work on an e-newsletter. And then I'm the liaison between our organization and a wide variety of top-tier fetal centers throughout the United States in providing information. We work together. We call them stewardship partners. And we work together to get the word out about what they're doing, about their success stories, about their doctors and nurses, breakthroughs that they've had, treatments that are up and coming, that are being tested and approved, and be able to really get that message out to people who are suffering through something like a fetal diagnosis. So that's what I'm doing now. I've worked with them in the past, before my cancer diagnosis, and I lived in Denver. But I've
Yeah.
also done lots of other kinds of marketing throughout the years, and I really enjoy that, because I feel like you get a wealth of experience and the ability to meet so many people in a variety of areas of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That is very, very interesting and very, very nice thing to be doing. Obviously, I've seen. Obviously, you've mentioned that you live in the mountains
Mhm,
um, of Montana,
mhm.
and obviously that's something which you really you like the peace, the peaceful.
I do.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it here. So we've only been living in Montana since about last May, but
right.
we lived in Colorado for 10 years. So I grew up in Ohio. So I know that this is in the UK. So for anybody who doesn't know where Ohio is, it's what some people might call a flyover state. So it's toward the eastern part of the United States. I grew up there, lived there for 34 years. That's where I went to university, where I met my husband, had both of my children there. And then,
Wow.
but when my husband and I got married, we went to Colorado. Well, we eloped and we went to Colorado and got married, and I sort of fell in love with the mountains, and it just felt like home to me. And so when we were able to, with our jobs and kids in the right position and all those things, we moved to Colorado, lived there for 10 years, then moved away back to the east for about 6 years, realized we missed the mountains so much that we came back. So we're here in Montana now, sort of on the west side of Montana, almost Idaho. So we're pretty far west and pretty far north. And we love it here. It's gorgeous. Last week we had about 2 feet of snow. And this morning it's 66 degrees and sunny. So it's a beautiful place to be with a variety of weather and lots of things to do. So yeah, the mountains
Yeah.
are my home.
In the UK, we were used to the snow, the snow in the UK. But so, do they usually snow down there? Is it a usual thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, quite usual. So we border Canada to our north, and so
Right.
we're just slightly south. So we get a fair amount of snow here pretty much starting in October, and it snows until, I mean, like I said, it snowed last week. I don't think we're done yet. I think we still have some snow in the forecast. So yeah, I think it snows here more than anything else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that obviously in the US, it does. There are certain places in the US where it does. There is snow. There is quite a lot of snow. In the UK, obviously, we're used to it. It happens nearly in every place, usually. Wow. On there, so yeah, it must be very peaceful down where you are. Then is it not like a? So it's not like a noisy place. It's like a peaceful place.
So the city I live in right now has about 80 people.
80.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's very, very small. I think we have a post office, we have a community center, and we have a campground, and that's kind of it. You have to drive out
Right.
of town to hit a restaurant or a grocery store. Right now, I'm at the library in a neighboring city. So yeah, it's a very small place, very peaceful. It's very quiet, very dark. So sleep comes easy, especially because there's so much to do during the day. Lots of opportunity to get out and go hiking or snowshoeing or cross country skiing, even just to run around the yard with the dogs. We have two big dogs who like to get out and play and run. So lots of fun to have in the snow too, which I absolutely love. I feel like snow is a gift, and I absolutely enjoy getting out and being able to play in it anytime I can. So yeah, I would say it's very peaceful. It's given me an opportunity, to write my book. I feel because um, I love the inspiration of the mountains, having the quiet and the solitude, being able to have the time to really sit down and commit, because that's something that, things get in the way. And there's always a reason, I think, that we can find not to commit to something and really dedicate the time that's needed. But I found that here, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm sure that would be easy to if you want to do something um, like writing and stuff. It would be easier to do it because it would be like a noisy or it's nice. You can get those thoughts out
Hmm.
and put to pen to paper. Or some people write via the laptop these days, obviously. So yeah, directly on the they don't use a pen and stuff. But yeah, absolutely, definitely, and obviously, um, through obviously your work and obviously your book, um, you are being that woman advocate regarding this and the kind of stuff. What you've done. Obviously, I've tried to. See, like I usually do when I'm chatting to see if the person who we're having a chat with, because it's basically a chat. I don't really call it class it as an interview. It's more of a chat.
Sure.
And to see if they're on social media, but I'm not been able to find any social media. Are you not, are you away from social media or?
No, I'm not away from social media at all. I
All
have
right.
LinkedIn. You can find me just at Erika Wolf on LinkedIn. I'm on
Okay.
Instagram. Um,
And what about social Facebook, Twitter, anything?
yeah, so I'm on Instagram. So it's Erica underscore or underscore boomer. That's my handle there. I do have a Facebook, but I don't make that public because I have a lot of family there, things about my kids and that sort of stuff. So I don't make my Facebook public. But both my
Okay.
Instagram and LinkedIn are public profiles.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll just display the LinkedIn just now. This is the LinkedIn official.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
yeah.
I think you probably need to take the K out of the middle. My middle initial isn't there. So if you look for Erica K Wolf, I don't know what will come up. It might still come up, but if you click on that, it
Yeah, I think it still come up because
will.
on through Matchmaker, I clicked on the link, it went straight to it. So I
Perfect.
think it still works. I think it still
Okay.
works. Yeah. So you can obviously get in touch with Erica if you need any advice about, or if you're going through a similar situation, you want to ask Erica something. Then you can definitely get in touch with her on LinkedIn. Um, Definitely. I definitely need to update my LinkedIn. I've not been on LinkedIn for a while. So that's something which I need to. Um, but social media is that kind of a stuff where you have to
Yeah,
keep on it, on the ball every time. That's one of the
definitely.
things.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like I do a better job for my company than I do for myself. Maybe I ought to treat myself with the same amount of time and effort that I do for work. Because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I should put that out there on my personal page, and don't always think about it. So yeah, something to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is. It is. It's. I think social media is one of the things. It's a work in progress. I think where um, you have to just try to keep it on. I've had to do it obviously because of the podcast. I've had to get more on social media. So yeah, it's just about being consistent, keep on it all the time, and then yeah, it's one of the things I'm trying to get my head around
Yeah,
um, on that. But yeah, so yeah, absolutely, and that's absolutely great, and I think we have covered what we wanted to cover because obviously we wanted to talk about your book, we wanted to talk about uh, these kind of stuff which you've mentioned. Absolutely, and so yeah, definitely, guys. So obviously, if you see Erika's book out, it would be out in June, and you would be able to buy it. Is it going to be available in physical bookstores as well?
that's the hope. So at the very beginning, we'll get it online, and then with my team at EXV Agency, we'll be working with some brick and mortar bookstores to have it in actual retail stores too. So right now, we don't know where those will be, but that's what we're working toward, and you'll be able to find out on my website where that will actually be happening.
Yeah, definitely, Erica. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has been wonderful to have you on to chat about this and to discuss about uh, obviously what you've described, and obviously I can only imagine, can't even imagine what you've been through. Obviously I know with experiences, and obviously with people who I know, distant relatives who've been through a similar situation. I know that it is a difficult thing because they've told me. So I know that part because obviously they've been through it, and they've told me that yeah, what kind of stuff they've had to go through. So it is a very tough thing, and absolutely, and I'm sure that book is going to draw a lot of inspiration. So, and anybody watching this, or watching the recorded version, obviously, we are going to post this, and we're going to post the clips. And also, if you want to listen to the audio version, we will be putting that on the website, the womanagendapodcast.com official website. It will be on there, and it will be available on all audio podcast platforms. This chat which we're having with Erica will be uploaded very shortly on there as well. And obviously, if you guys haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. We will have a very talented Chinese filmmaker, Yizu, on this Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. UK time, and We will be chatting with Yizu, and hopefully I've said that right. So yeah, definitely. Is anything else you would like to add or you would like to mention, which we've not mentioned?
The only last thing that I wanted to mention, I think is important to say when talking about my book is, I mentioned it before briefly, but when we're talking to individuals about their experience, that's one group that I want to reach. But I think it's important to reach the caregivers, and that is the group who can make the difference in care for people. Because when I went through my experience, I had my oncology caregivers, and I would have an infusion. And as I would leave, the nurses would say goodbye and have a good day, and then send me out the door, not having really any idea what I was about to experience for the next 3 weeks until my next appointment. And it was in those 3 weeks that, all of the symptoms would really hit. I would be very sick. I would have, a host of problems that I don't really like to talk too much about because everyone's experience is different. And so my symptoms aren't going to be everyone else's symptoms and vice versa. So, but I do know that they happen. And I do know that people get very ill to whatever degree that is. And so I think that when doctors and nurses, they look at the end result, and in the end, yes, chemotherapy killed the cancer cells. I'm considered free of the disease and doing very well. I'm thriving these days. However, I feel like I needed to have these complementary therapies as part of my overall treatment in order to keep me healthy enough and sane enough to really endure all the rigors of that treatment. Because it wasn't just about keeping my body healthy. It was about keeping my mind right, keeping my mind positive, having an outlook that made a difference, and really unifying what was happening in my body with what was happening in my mind. Because the mind wants to say, well, why did this happen to me? And,
Yeah.
I've been healthy, and I was a yogi and a runner and a wellness coach and all of these things. That doesn't matter because that's not how cancer works. And so it was very important for me, really integral, that I was able to look at it in a different way and really get that thinking out of my mind in a more positive mindset in place, so that my mind and my body weren't working against each other, but rather working together so that I could release the disease and be free of it instead of fighting against it. I think it's Carl Jung who said, what we resist persists. And I did not want that to be the case for me. And so I think finding those things was important. But more importantly than me finding those things is the medical community adopting the same ideas, and the medical community understanding that a positive mental attitude goes a long way toward the physical healing. It's not enough on its own to think yourself into health. But when the opposite happens and we become depressed and our mood devolves and we think everything is, the sky is falling, that does the opposite that we want, has the opposite effect in the body. So we want really to keep the mind healthy and positive so that the body can follow and that they're working together. And so I think that that's my message to the medical community is, don't just look at these things as, oh yeah, my oncologist used to say, well, that can't hurt, when I would tell him things I was doing, methods I was trying, Chinese herbs I was taking, craniosacral therapy, seeing a psychotherapist, whatever it was, he would say, well, that can't hurt. Well, it does so much more than not hurt. It actually helps. It benefits the patient. And I think that in the end, if what we're looking for is eradicating cancer, then we have to look at all of the ways that it affects the body and then how the mind has such a positive impact on making that happen.
Absolutely, definitely. Yep, absolutely, spot on. Definitely, I think that's something which definitely needs to be looked into. Definitely by them. I definitely agree with that. And yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd like to say a big thank you, Erica, for coming on there, and wishing you lots of success for your book. I'm sure it's going to be a success, and I'm sure a lot of women and people and even both genders will draw inspiration from reading this book. And and don't forget, guys, it will be available on Amazon. What date is it at the moment?
It's
Tentative date. Yeah,
June the 27th.
June the 27th. So
Yes.
hopefully June the 27th is going to be releasing
Yes.
on Amazon.com and these kind of places. So do check it out. It's going to be a very good read, definitely. And obviously, like Erika said, she's available on LinkedIn as well, and you can reach her on LinkedIn if you need to ask her anything, or you need some advice or something. She is available on this link.
I sure
You
am.
can
Thank you
email
so much
from.
for having me today, Raj. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful to talk with you. I
Thank you very
appreciate your
much.
well wishes on the book. And yeah, like Raj says, anybody that wants to reach out, let me know. I'm happy to talk. I'm an open book. I'd like to help out if I can.
Thank you very much, Erica. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.